I've listened to the singles. I'm excited for the new album. I'm loving everything I'm hearing from you guys. We're
Thanks.
what? Absolutely. We're about what, 2 months away from
hmm
Distortion coming out. Like we're getting close.
Time
You
is
guys got a
flying.
man, yes, and you got a couple, you got big UK Europe tour coming up this fall. It's an
hmm
exciting time for Future Palace. Talk to me a little bit about how the band is feeling right now as we're getting close to the release of Distortion.
we are pretty busy, let's say so.
Yeah.
Right now, we have a first time really having a few weeks off from shows and from being finished with the album because we just finished the music videos, shooting them in May.
Wow.
So not long ago, and we're still waiting for the final video, which is not out yet. Or for one music video where we still have to do the revisions and stuff. So
Mhm.
we're theoretically not 100% done with everything, and this is our first time to breathe a little bit since
Right.
like I think start of the year, and we're going to Finland next week for the next festival. And from then on, we're back on
Nice.
being busy and I think time will just honestly fly even more. So this entire year was just like this, like
Yeah.
way faster again because we're always very busy and recorded the album January. And yeah, so it's all super super fresh, and that to release something that's so new. And I'm very very excited for the reactions, and also tiny bit scared. I think that you're always a little scared for people hating you suddenly. But yeah, so that's what we're up to.
Yeah, I mean that's understandable. I mean, it's been a couple years since the last record came out. We're about 2 years after it.
hmm
I mean, coming off of Run, which was a fucking killer record.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You guys have a lot of momentum going your way. You're on a lot of people's radars right now. Where were you guys at mentally going into this record when you sat down to write it and put it together and really start to breathe life into it?
Um, we were we were at such a different state because we've been touring so much, more than we've ever been before. So all of that experience has been influenced. Run was written in the pandemic, pretty much, and this album was written after everything happened. Like
Yeah.
huge tours, touring through Europe. I think 4 or 5 times, 4 times, I guess, or five. I don't even remember. I don't even. I stopped counting because it's been insane. And then
Yeah.
we've played festivals and all of that stuff. So I think a lot of experience, of more experience, has been influencing this album. But also you can tell that a lot of exhaustion also, and a bit of being overwhelmed by all this work that you have to put in for all these years, and
Mhm.
it takes a lot of power to keep doing this. It is so nice to see it from the outside and always looks very fun and very exciting, but behind the scenes, it is so much work to keep all of this alive when you're not
Yeah.
rich, or if you're not super super famous yet, and you still have to work and make everything work behind the scenes. So yeah, we've been keeping this alive for a few years now, since like 2019 actively.
Mhm.
And you can tell that, yeah, it gets not draining, but you kind of feel like, oh, when's the point when I get some peace and some when I arrive, and it
Yeah.
takes a while. You still work so much, and yeah. So from my side, that's what was also an influence. Plus, private life. How do you feel mentally? How does your environment feel? What the world is like? All of that was, yeah, an influence for this album.
Because you guys still do a lot of stuff DIY. You still do a lot of stuff yourselves. A lot of stuff in-house. I noticed on your merch website, your guys' merchandise is vegan.
Yeah,
Which I think
we
is
try our best.
that's really cool. What made you guys
Thanks.
want to, yeah, what made you guys want to do that? And can you kind of explain what vegan merchandise is? What makes it vegan?
Yeah, so first of all, our drummer slash manager, Johannes, does all of that stuff. He's not
Okay.
much into the creative process, but he's a lot into business and
Sure.
he's our manager and he does the merch store, mostly on his own and also the website and all that stuff. And it was
That's
also his
awesome.
idea that, yeah, it was also his idea really early on that we should have our very own merch store, very own website. And I'm very, very thankful that he did that because it helps us out a lot.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you're very dependent on every single cent. Because being a
Yeah.
band, different from being a YouTuber or influencer, is so expensive. And that's what makes this entire business very hard. It is so expensive to tour, to oh, it's an entire different topic.
Yeah.
So we are very, very dependent on our merch store as well, where we also like sell the vinyls, signed vinyls, and our own merch. And we are three people in the band, and two of us, me and Johannes, are vegan. And yes, so we really want to not be dickheads or be like paradox because we are vegan for a reason, like many
Mhm.
different reasons.
Sure.
And sometimes it is hard to be not capitalistically working, but you have to somehow be a working business.
Yeah.
And we want to do that without ruining the world even more. So Johannes looked up some print versions that are vegan prints because lots of colors can, also in makeup and everything, can include non-vegan colors. Also, the way fabrics are made can be not vegan, or the ingredients or how it's produced. Uh, there's so many different things. I don't know the English word right now, but there's one material. Oh, I forgot the name in English. And
That's
that's
okay.
fully not vegan because it's made like from some animal. Or
Huh.
wool, for example, isn't vegan because it's
Yeah.
from sheep. So
Right.
that's what we what we check before. And it's also organic and we make sure that the working conditions are also fair.
Hmm.
So yeah, that we can sell this without feeling guilty.
That's awesome.
And I think, yeah, so we try our best to make this all. Or Johannes, I give the credit to Johannes. I mean, we talk together, we do the designs. I'm more at the part of the designs and stuff, but
Right.
he manages this pretty well. Yeah.
Is it more expensive to do it vegan or is it
Yeah.
okay?
To do it organic and vegan is more expensive, and there are no shade, but there are many bands that sell very, very cheap merch, and we saw that at festivals, for example.
Hmm.
Of course, you get more money that way, and maybe they don't know better, or
Right.
yeah, but yeah, we personally prefer that version,
Yeah. I
even
think
though
it's
we have
really
to sell it.
cool.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. I mean, it's
Oh,
really, really cool to see that.
thanks.
That is absolutely awesome. Um,
Thanks.
you got it. You mentioned that you guys started doing this around 2019 is when it really, really kicked up for you
Yeah.
guys. The first record was released in the pandemic and pretty in 2020. How hard
Mm.
was it to keep going when you guys had it written and it was ready to release, and then it released that fall? Everything was shut down. You couldn't tour. What was that time like for you guys, and what made you decide to keep going? Because it was early in your career. You could have just, well, we gave it a shot and it didn't work out. Maybe it's not, but you kept going. What made you decide to do that, and how hard was that for you?
I think actually the it wasn't that hard. I mean, it was probably hard for marketing, but it wasn't anything new really because we didn't, or I personally didn't know heavy touring.
Okay.
Never been on a real tour. We've just done one tour as Future Palace before the pandemic, and that was just in Germany. Pretty small tour with friends of us. We were supporting them. So there was nothing really new for me besides that I'm releasing an album, and that was just
Right.
so nice for me. And actually, I'm pretty happy to be honest that it happened that way, because that way, I could collect some more energy and experience before going on all these shows. We could use the time to grow online and digital, which I think is very, very important these
Yeah.
days. Almost not more important, but equally important to playing shows, and that's what we focused on. That's what my personal not profession, but what I was experienced with, because I've been doing YouTube since I was 14. I've had
Hmm.
a YouTube channel. We uploaded our first music video on my YouTube channel back then. And social media was always a great tool for me and something I was very familiar with. So we just actually put everything on the social media card and just promoted it online, built a TikTok, we did some YouTube live streams, Twitch live streams, built the website shop and all of that. So I think it was very good to build everything because we've also done our first like fan box with the album, merch and all that. So it was like a beginner year to me and
Ah,
like a experience, like a first experience. I've never written an album before, so it was all exciting enough for me. I think I would have just passed out if I would have to have an extra tour. And also, we were way
yeah.
more dependent on the jobs we had back then and
Mhm.
needed to put in so much more money into everything. And now the band is like a own company and can kind of support itself oftentimes
Okay.
on its own nowadays,
Yeah.
which in the beginning we had to get our private money in there a lot of times.
Yeah.
And touring would have been very, very, very hard on us, I think, financially. But I mean, in the ideal world, you win money with touring, but in
Right.
the real
Not
world,
always.
not
Not
always, especially
always.
supporting. So yeah, I think it was good for me and it helped us. And I think it just made sense to be prepared for the next one, which was Run.
Yeah, I
Mm.
mean that's a good point. You didn't really know. I guess it would have been different if like you had released the record maybe a year earlier and been touring
Hmm.
full time and then that happened. But like that's a good point. You didn't really know the other side
Yeah,
hadn't quite happened. So I mean
yeah.
that's a really good point. Let's talk about the new stuff. You guys have three singles out, three videos. Dreamstate, Uncontrolled. I love Echoes of Disparity.
Oh, thank
Oh
you.
my God,
Nice. Thanks.
especially that music video. Like that music
Thank
video,
you.
holy shit, that video's intense. Like, yeah.
Thanks.
Like I had to rest when I got done watching because I got into it. I'm like, oh, whew. How much fun
That's
was
cool.
shooting that video? And there's so many different settings in that video, and it really
Hmm.
tells it. I feel like the video tells a story and really takes you through a journey. What was that video like shooting for you guys?
Oh, it was wild. I think that was the craziest video we've ever done as a band. Also, like the biggest crew we've ever had as a band. And we were flying to Latvia for that shoot. That's where the director of this music video is from. And he was like, I have my entire crew here, so you might as well come over here. It will be
Mhm.
way better for you guys and way less
Right.
trouble for you guys. And we had the first time with a makeup artist, and I was just so thankful that he's done all this great work and preparing this video and finding the perfect setting, which was this empty prison. We had an entire prison, like a lost prison for ourselves. It was like three buildings, and that would have been not doable here in Germany, not at all. And it was very creepy because it was like this old East European, yeah, prison. It looked very rough. It smelled very muddy and not muddy, but like what is it called again?
Like
I forgot.
mildewy, just like a lot of moisture in the air, kind of
Yeah,
like
moist
old
and
water.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so it was stinky. And actually, the house was super cold. It was warmer outside, and it was early, I think
Wow.
in March or something.
Mhm.
And yeah, we were freezing in there because it was like all tiles that were super cold. And you could even find like old prisoner things in there, like weapons and also some like blankets. And it was still very alive in some areas.
Wow.
And the director told us, make sure to not close any of the doors because we don't have any keys and some of them are still intact. So you might actually get locked up. And there's no one working here. So that would be a huge problem. And
Oh
I
my
was so
gosh.
scared because in one shot, we would have to lock up the old guy.
Yeah.
And I was just so paranoid that we end up locking someone up in there. And yeah, but it was very, very fun, very exciting, and it
Yeah.
was very busy as well. It was a full, very long day, and I was also the creative director of it, so I was doing all the outfits and checking all the looks, checking every scene, every set, and yeah, so it was very a lot of work, but to me it was also super fulfilling
Yeah.
to to do that and to see these images at the end and to see it work. The idea wasn't shit, which I'm always very relieved because I'm always scared that maybe what's in my mind is not good in reality. You never
Yes.
know. But
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Pavel, the director, videographer, did a very, very good job with
Mhm.
editing. It was our favorite video of him he's ever done. So yeah, I'm very glad you like it too, because we
Oh,
received sadly some negative things as well for like the dancer, for example, or like for the lyrics. People were butthurt by it, to be honest, or it was a little too extra for some, especially for like metalcore. They're like, this is not metal. Like, what the
oh
fuck
my
is this?
God. Oh, I
But
hate
yeah, I'm also happy with
2024.
it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was like
Man.
also kind of like negatively surprised by how many, I don't know if it's conservative or just not open-minded people have been collected under this video and try to spread hate against especially the dancer or against me or against women. But yeah.
Hey, look, if one of the people that came up with the ideas for the scenes in the video is a woman, it's not negative.
Mm.
It's not negative against women. So,
Yeah, yeah.
like honestly, it's just a really creative video. It's really cool. The shot sequences and just the different settings and how they kind of complement each other, but are also different at the same time.
Mm,
It is a really cool video. I mean,
thanks.
man, but just watching like the prison scenes, like I kind of wondered like that didn't look super comfortable to be like
No.
'cause I do a lot of abandoned building photography and some of those places
Mm.
are not. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking with that smell. Like it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
this
It's never comfortable to really
no.
record a video, I think, or shoot a video.
Yeah.
I've been doing so much stuff like flying in the air, being
Yeah.
barefoot in the forest, being in an ocean. I've been doing everything because I usually also do like the acting parts, which is
Okay,
also
yeah.
my fault. So, and I always dress up and I used to do all my makeup on my own, and be
Right.
in such a time rush, and then I do the guy's makeup. This time it was easier.
Yeah.
But still, like, oh, yeah, it took quite a time and energy,
Yeah.
and you wake up very early and you end
Yeah.
very late. So, yeah,
Video
it
production is
always,
no joke. Like it
yeah,
is the
pain in the
the
ass.
but the dreamstate video is just beautiful. It
Thank
is
you.
just
That was
yeah.
way more comfortable besides the mosquitoes in the forest. But
It's gorgeous. It is,
thanks.
and it really fits the atmosphere of the song, the energy, and obviously the
Nice.
title. Like it is, that was actually the first song that I watched when Tori and them emailed me about this was, well, let me look him up. And Dream State was the
Ah,
first one I watched. And I was like,
nice.
this is really cool.
Oh,
Like that
thanks.
video is, um, all three songs are very different from each other. They all feel different,
Hmm.
different energies, which is really cool. Um, what's important to you about doing that and making each song its own identity and feel different than just having it flow and feel exactly the same all the way through?
Well, first of all, I'm very glad that you say the video looks how the song feels, because that is my ultimate goal to
Mhm.
really convey the feeling the song is supposed to give you and
Mhm.
to show it visually. I know you could make a video that just looks cool and
Yeah.
that's it, call it a day and just
Yeah.
perform, but I think that's
Right.
boring personally. And it's similar to the songwriting. I mean, Manuel, our guitarist, he does the instrumentals and we will work on them together, and then once I have a theme in my head for the topic, we will push it more in this direction or in this direction. And once again, my main goal is to have the emotion as its focus. What is the feeling? What do I want anyone to feel when they listen to it? And what do I feel like writing the song? And this album is called Distortion, and it's from the term cognitive distortion, which is from psychology, like about mental illness and stuff. And these songs, besides the Echoes of Disparity, was more like its own song because it's just so much anger and frustration that I collected over years being a woman in this world. It always has like a specific feeling or illness. For example, Uncontrolled was a lot about ADHD and depression, whilst Dream State is more depression and lack of motivation and power, and very like slow and yeah, powerless kind of.
Mhm.
While Uncontrolled still has this frustration in it, and like I just don't work and I wish I would work, and I think that's what makes them sound different, because the emotions are so different.
Mhm.
And yeah, I try to really just show them as much as I can in these songs,
Yeah.
so people really understand the feeling, or they feel understood with the feeling. And that's always my ultimate goal. And I think that's just what happens to these songs in the end. Yeah.
How long did it take to get out of that makeup for the uncontrolled video? You're freaking covered.
Oh God.
Like, like
You're
how hard was that video to do? And is that in a church?
We tried to get a church, but we were not allowed to get a church with that idea. Especially, we were in Latvia, and he was so Pavel was really looking for a church, but he was like,
Yeah,
"Sorry, guys, we cannot get a
it ain't
church with
happening.
looking like a silver Satan." So fair enough, we found something close enough to a church, and
Right?
the owners of that thing even wanted like signatures and stuff in the end, even though they didn't know who we were. They're like, "Oh, that looked very cool." I'm like, "I'm glad you let us allow to do this."
Thank God
And
somebody, because it is fucking badass.
thanks. It looked very impressive there. Very, very nice. I was like,
Yeah,
all these locations were bigger and better than what we've had ever. And
yeah.
that made so much more easier because the sets already look very cool. And we had a set designer as well and some assistants that would build like all these crosses in one room. And then we did this red shot where the demon was in with all these red lights and candles. And I really liked the aesthetic and felt like it's way more what we are. And it looks, yeah, way better than the videos before. The silver makeup, we were in such a time rush that day. Like it was, once again, because I am the creative director, I also make sure the outfits are
Mhm.
good, but I also have to
Yeah.
check the sets that they look good. So I like always run around, sit in makeup,
Cool.
try to eat in between, and then I was just like running that day. um and the makeup also took pretty long because we had to
Yeah.
put in contact lenses, glue on the ears, and I only had contact lenses in twice in my life.
I can't
And
do them.
I hate them. I have like
Yes.
some weird paranoia with eyes. I cannot even
Yes.
talk. You too?
Yes. I can't go
I'm
anywhere
so,
near that. Like,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
like, I can do like makeup and all that
Yeah.
around it, but once it gets like, oh, I'm just so disgusted by it. And
Yeah.
that was like a little communication issue because we thought the makeup artist knows how to do contact lenses, but she didn't. So our guitarist Manuel had to do it, who wears like contact lenses daily. So it was a big trust to do it, that he can do it. And I was just like, oh my God, this is horrible.
I've
This is so horrible. And I
seen
was
way
so
too many
dramatic.
horror movies. Like, nope, you're gonna do something to me. Stay away.
Yeah,
Like,
and
no.
the worst thing was they were like red cat eye
Yeah.
lenses, and I can like pass out when I talk about this. But they have like a line, so they have to be right. And he put them in, and he's like, they're the wrong way around. And I was like, please no. And he's like, we have to like turn them so they are the right way. And
Oh.
then and then I looked into the
Oh.
mirror and I saw how my eyes are like not like a normal cat, but like a little like this. And I was like almost passing out because it looked so disgusting. And I had to like move it so it's like right. And while we shot, they're like, your eye is like the wrong way again. I was like, fuck this. Ugh. And yeah, the
Oh
ears were
no.
actually yeah, the ears were actually more of a problem because the glue we had no real glue remover as well. It didn't really work. So I still had it like for 2 or 3 days. I still had this glue on my face, and I was like, "Oh my God, like I need to get this glue off. It hurts and stuff." Yeah, so that was pretty much of a challenge. And we shot both videos right after another. One day Echoes of Disparity, next day Uncontrolled. Yeah, that was very rough. Very, very,
Yeah,
very rough. And
that's
then
a
fly back
lot.
home.
So
Yeah.
were you like walking around the set in like the silver Satan makeup, like, yep, looks good, looks good, looks good, fix that.
Yeah,
Like
I
just
looked hilarious.
like man, but like when you put that much work, especially with the uncontrolled video, into every making sure everything looks good, all that effort into doing that, like when it comes out as good as it did, like that's gotta be just man. Because if it's not with
Yeah.
stuff like that, if it's not done well and done right, it could be really corny, not received well. So it's
Mm,
gotta be shot a certain way and done a certain
mm,
way. And you guys fucking nailed that. Like,
thanks. I mean, I have to say, Pavel, who we work with, he's very, very talented. He
Yeah.
does many amazing, amazing videos like Imminence, Landmarks, and a long list. And we know that he is very skilled, and we've been doing 3 videos with him earlier, but our budget and everything and time, it was pretty tricky to do, and it was our first time working together. And it's another thing, you have to get to know each other and the stylistic and what the band wants. And I feel like he also understood a little more this time what we want and what our goal is. I try to really take my time with the mood boards, because in preparation, I create the mood boards where I have like the sets prepared, what kind of looks I want, what the color should be, the set design. I don't even know where it is, but I drew the set design also as well. So that my imagination gets very close to the end result. And it's very hard because when you have so many images, you don't have a printer really for your head. So you have to make sure that everyone understands what you mean. And I
Hmm.
oftentimes want to do everything on my own, but it doesn't work, of course. I cannot do a video on that style and all of that. So I really have to trust that the person understands me and asks me a lot, and that I try to
Yeah.
be very clear with what I want. And I hope that, yeah, he understood well, and he also put some of his ideas in there, which were really nice. And then also we worked together on the grading at the end and the cut, of course. We did some work with that as well. So yeah, it is a lot of work to get to a thing where everyone is happy, because there's so many people involved, and
Yeah.
so it still aligns with the idea you had originally. But I'm very, very glad that it looks how it looks and that it went how it went. And just when
Yeah.
everything worked at the end, I'll just cross it and I'm like, wow, that's great. On to
Yeah.
the next thing.
Like how do you keep your I mean, how do you keep your mental health prioritized with all of this though? Because like you do so much and the rest of the band does so much.
Mm.
It's easy to get burned out, especially with all that flying and traveling, and then just not just that, but like the mental work that you have to put into not just the writing, the music, but the cinematography as well. Like it's how do you avoid burnout? And like how do you keep your mental health in such good shape?
I'm not sure if I'm in a good shape. Well, I think I am. But
As
I do
good a
have,
shape as we can be in, you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
I think I do have a lot of struggles. I think we all struggle nowadays. Also, our band, we are so different people, the three of us. We do
Mhm.
come from very different backgrounds, also privately. And I can only talk for myself. I've been through so much shit in my life that I'm just so used to always living on the edge and still
Yeah.
functioning. Like, oh, yeah, just always since I'm a child. So I'm like trained for this, but you do have a point where you kind of have to switch something in your daily life to keep going, because you cannot always live on the edge and just
Yeah.
function until it breaks. Because there are, for example, I do know people who had burnouts, who lost health functions from their bodies because of burnout, and it's very, very serious. And you have to listen to yourself and to your body, because when it's too late, your body will tell you. It will tell you, and that's something I always try to avoid, also mentally. And I've been through to therapy for 1.5 years. Just
Good.
1 or 2 years ago, I took that time finally, because I was always like, never mind, I function, I can do that, I'm strong, blah blah blah. And then I noticed, well, no, my mental illness is pushing through. Like, depression increased a lot, my lack of motivation increased a lot, and all of that is really hard to me. And I oftentimes do things very late at the day, push it in so it works somehow, like 3 a.m. Or
Yeah.
I am always late and everything is so last
Yeah.
minute, also this
Yep.
album. And so I struggled so much. And yeah, therapy was one big, big, big help for me. And I would recommend anyone who can do it, do it. And if it's not for you, try another
Hmm.
therapy maybe in the future. And besides therapy, I also read a lot of psychology books. Since I'm a teenager, I'm very, very interested in psychological books, because I love when there are explanations for things and when there are solutions for things. And I
Hmm.
hate just staying in the problem.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite authors is Erich Fromm. He's a German author, and he was like a psychoanalyst. But he
Hmm.
also moved to the US actually in
Oh,
1960s, I think, because of war in Germany.
sure,
He
sure,
went away.
sure.
I can only recommend his books, and yeah, read so many books about it. Tried to learn more about it, and also I do meditation and yoga, and
Mm.
music is one of my biggest survival tips for myself. And arts or anything that you can do to release the emotions is very important. And I just said that also earlier in another interview that if it stays inside of you, it will make you sick. I'm so like I'm very sure about that. And we are not supposed to just sit quiet and still for years because that's,
Yeah,
I mean, we used to be monkeys, like we're supposed to let the stuff out. And you need some space in your life where you can release emotion. And to me, that's music,
hmm
100%. I could scream until the end of my life because there's so much
yeah.
emotion inside of me that needs to go out still. So yeah, it's all of that. And also on tour, you have to set
Oh,
boundaries, or everywhere. You have
yeah,
to set boundaries and respect yourself and be able to say no to certain things, to certain people. And it's just a lifelong working and learning process, I
yeah,
think. And I really
yeah,
try to, yeah, to get better with it every day and try to be a better version of myself if it
yeah.
works.
Every day you wake up and go to bed and make it through, like,
Hmm.
is it's a win. That's,
Hmm.
you know,
It is.
um, how long did it, how long did it take you to get to the point you're at where you're able to go from the beautiful, just soothing, clean vocals to just the holy shit, just terrifying, like unclean, just screams. Like you go back and forth, so well. Like how long
Thanks.
did it take you to get that down? Like it's they're because they're two different deliveries. There's different ways of they both take different approaches and different types. They're both
Yeah.
different on your body,
They are
and your
very
vocals.
different.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're also similar. It's interesting. Actually, I just this year had my first ever screaming lesson this year. Because I noticed after touring for the first time, really, that it is way, way more maintenance and
Mhm.
practice and
Yes.
technique than I thought. And because I started the first time I was screaming in my life was when I was about 14, which is like 13 years ago, because I'm
Okay.
27 now. Yeah.
Okay.
So quite long. Oh my God, I'm getting old.
Hey, I'm 37. I don't want to hear it. Like
Like, oh my God,
you
time's
ain't
just
got
flying.
nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I wish I was 27 again.
I mean, age is just a number.
It
So
is. Yeah. You're only as old
but
as you feel. Yeah.
yeah, but I've done it pretty early, like when I was
Yeah.
just a young teenager, and I just tried it out. I loved Linkin Park, I loved Flyleaf, and many bands that were doing screams, and I just tried it at my children room, my teenage room. And I remember my mom was like yelling at me after. She was like, I heard you down the street. What the fuck are you doing in here? I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm like learning to scream. She's like, well, okay, well, I don't even remember what she said, but she's like, yeah, okay, please don't do it that loudly. And I still kind of did it. And I was in my first band since I'm 14. I've really done this since ever, really. And
Yeah.
my first band, 14 until I was 20. So it's
Oh,
always been part of my life. And we always had rehearsals like once or twice a week, which funnily, we now with Future Palace we don't even really practice at all. It's so different. And back then
right.
I used to, it was my life to like practice and go into the rehearsal room. And that was like my survival thing, to have this music as a source. And I was starting to scream in that band, but not as much as we are now. And it was also not really metal. It was more like post progressive rock, whatever it was, some creative stuff. And yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying it until the noise came out. I didn't understand the tutorials back then. And from that on, my naive and pig-headed brain told me I can do that. Because same with singing, I had no singing lessons until I was 22. Then I studied music for a few semesters and had singing lessons. And after that, I improved a lot. But before that, no singing lessons and just so much experience with my old band and practicing. And I'm like a kind of personality. I really want to achieve everything as fast as possible and all on my own. and
Yep.
there are no excuses. I'm very
Same.
hard on myself. Yeah, it's like I don't know
Same.
what it is.
Yeah.
And it was the same with screaming. It's like maybe it's pride or whatever it is. I was like, I don't need help. I have
Yeah.
to do this on my own, and I won't get help. And also, I have no power for help and no patience for tutorials. So I just
Yes.
made it work until it felt okay, no pain while doing it. And I think I've gotten better over the years because I had a break with no screaming for a few years. And then with Run, we were like, I was like, you know what, guys, I remembered, or, you know, I can actually scream. I used to do that like a lot, but I don't really know how to do it, but I can kind of do it. So I just did it without knowing and going on stage. And that's when I was thrown into the cold water because it, you know, the most honest to you is your voice. It will tell you when you do stuff wrong, and it
Mhm.
showed me that I did stuff wrong, and I did it way too hard and way too aggressive because in my mind screaming is loud and energetic and emotional, and I used to do it very, very, very emotional and very, very loud until I noticed, okay, that's not the way to go on the long run. It doesn't go like this, and I got a bit more technique after a while. And this year, I've just done some coaching, and now I have a new coach that I'm trying to work with, and I feel like it's getting way better than before, way more controlled. I feel more confident. I'm a little sad that the album is recorded already because I feel like I'm already improving again. But I think that's just good for all the live shows. So make sure to see us live because it should be better.
Yes.
And it is a science on its own, honestly. Screaming is
Yeah.
it's very interesting. I was underestimating it, I think, a bit because it's a lot of technique and very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some videos on like screaming vocal coaches and like the actual like it's an art that a lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize that it actually is. And it is really, really cool to see what actually goes into doing it the right way. And if you do it the
Mm.
wrong way, it can have horrible like
Yeah.
consequences
Oh,
on your
yeah.
vocals.
I've
Like
had them.
I'm sure. Yeah, if you yeah, it's so easy to blow your voice out and just destroy it. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Going
Yeah.
back to Distortion though, it's coming out in just a couple months now. Like what do you feel like Distortion says about where the band is at right now and for you personally as an artist?
I think Distortion is a way more confident version of Future Palace. We've got familiar with the heaviness, with the heavy side. As I said, Run, just remembered that I could scream, like I couldn't really. And
Right.
with Distortion, you can hear and feel that we've been doing this for a few years now, that I grew into that role of also being a screamer, heavy vocalist. And I played around with that on this album. I did some lows, some gutturals, kind of. I did some highs. There's a lot of more pain and experience in there, also lyrically, like burnout, exhaustion, depression. Oh, there's been so much going on also, like in my private life, that has been influenced in there. And I feel like you can tell, you can feel like a more adult version, maybe also of us. And yeah, and also I think this live experience also made us understand a bit more what a good song is, especially live, and what kind of doesn't work live or feels awkward on stage. And we try to lean into that a little more, like what would be fun to play on stage, what would be refreshing for us also, because we've been playing these songs for a few years now, and we
Yeah.
want to I get so bored so easily. It's so annoying. It's horrible. And
Yeah.
I was so hyped to play new songs now that are a little more fun for me and have new elements in there. And I also try to put in some, like, not really rap, but spoken word singing here and there, and just
Yeah.
not stay in my comfort zone, but play around as an artist. And yeah, and I hope that some people can relate with these lyrics. And what I said earlier, which I will say again, is that I hope that people, because the name Distortion will tell you that something is distorted, something is not right in the middle. And oftentimes, our mental illnesses or even wrong beliefs will lead us away from what the reality is and make things worse and harder for us. For like depression, that entire song Dream State, like I just want to lay in bed and do nothing. But if I would listen to that voice and believe it's the reality, it would fuck up my life a lot. Sorry for saying fuck so much. I hope
You're
it
fine.
doesn't.
You're good. Fuck
Okay,
it. You're
good,
good.
good. Because yeah, if you start to believe that voice, it will not go well for you. And that's kind of
Mhm.
what I want to tell people, that a lot of things are very distorted, that your brain tells you, and you're so much more than your thoughts. And yeah, we have many songs with different topics, but at the end, with the last song, Amethyst, I want to tell everyone that even though everything is so shit and there's so much going on in this world and so much panic and anxiety, that you can still have some hope that you can cling on to, or a person maybe that makes things easier for you, and go out into this world and try to keep fighting and keep hoping for better days, and kind of try to clean your mind to get to this reality which is less distorted. Yeah.
The songs that I've heard so far sound just bigger
Mm,
than what you've done in the past. And the
that's
Run was a
nice.
great album, but these songs
Thanks.
sound they sound bigger, they sound more elaborate, and you can tell that the band has grown a lot since the last
Hmm.
record was released, because it's only
I'm glad.
released 2 years ago, but it was written longer ago than that. That's what
Hmm.
fans don't always realize is,
Yeah.
yeah, we just heard the record 2 years ago, but you guys were working on it for a lot longer than that. So
Hmm.
you can tell the growth, but it within the band musically when you listen to these new songs. And man, if if what I haven't heard is anywhere near as good as this, like you got a fucking great record coming out. It sounds like I can't wait to hear it. Like I'm excited. Like,
Yeah, me too. I
yeah,
hope people will like it. It is just from our hearts, and let's see what it will do. But I'm
yes,
excited to share it with the world.
yes. Thank you so much for taking time today to do this with me. I really appreciate your time, and
Thank
also
you.
thank you for continuing to do what you do and for this music, and honestly for just still being here. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you so much. Thanks for being here as well. That's
Absolutely.
so much more work than what some people see.
It really is. The tour starts this fall. You're going to the UK and Europe. Any North American tour plans coming up, potentially coming up?
Maybe. I cannot share anything officially, but we are behind the scenes. We are putting
Okay.
a lot of work into going overseas because that's a big goal of ours. We have
Yes.
many, many listeners over there. It would just make sense, and we know that. So it's just a question of time.
Yes, it's very expensive, and
Yeah.
it's not always the biggest run of
Yeah.
dates when European bands come over here either. It's usually very select markets and
Mm,
Chicago and some of the bigger cities that people can go to, centrally. So if you
yeah.
guys come over here at all and hit anything close to where I'm at, I'm fucking going. So
Thank you so much.
uh
It's so cool.
yes, absolutely.